world.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled program for a special news bulletin from Webster,
Twist the World fam, we're back with my boys Andy and Cody. What's up, guys?
So,
and back by popular demand, we have brought him back. DJ.
I'm here. They won't let me leave. They've left. I've locked in the bunker, and they said you have to record if you want to eat.
I mean, Cody fed you some like sugar-free ginger ale, so you enjoyed it and
flat. Probably
it's flat. There's no sugar.
You're not married
But,
yet,
you
so
know,
your wife's not missing you.
It is a bit like torture because you got the sugar-free drink and he ate in front of you. So I understand how that feels.
Mm-hmm.
He was eating on the microphone. It was horrible. Stop.
His ASMR.
Here we go with that. Oh god. With crazy sounds nobody wants to hear on the internet except for turtles.
Oh my!
How many views does that video have?
I could find out very quickly.
That'll tell you how many people want to hear those kind of noises.
I'm sure there's a subcategory.
My wife's like weeks behind on listening to the podcast. So I'm telling you, like 5 weeks from now, she's gonna be like, "What in the world?"
There's 3.1 million views.
Oh yeah.
Oh come on! I mean, you know.
And there's a second video of another one that's 3.5.
Oh,
part two.
Oh, those turtles are large. No, I'm just saying these are big turtles.
Possibly.
These
I
are
didn't
tortoises.
think you realized you just punned. That's great.
No, they're
That's
large
fantastic.
tortoises.
Yeah.
Tortoise eye.
Welcome back.
Turtles being twisted. Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, you know, that could be our mascot.
What are we talking about today?
Yeah, this is a shock jock radio right now.
It is. It's good stuff. I loved it. We're talking about a computer from the 1980s. So Andy's a computer guy. You know anything about these computers? I couldn't find anything.
No, they're very obscure.
They're called like a BBC Bit Model B, or I don't know, something like that. Some kind of computer that they designed in the 80s. British, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the UK.
So they have bad teeth.
They do have bad teeth. Yeah.
No,
The computers?
The computer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The keys are like
keys are
crooked and
jagged.
yellow.
Crooked. Yeah.
There's a couple missing.
Yeah, exactly.
I just find it funny that an actual like BBC was the
British,
it was the
British
TV
Broadcasting Channel.
broadcasting channel created a computer.
Right.
Like, I think they're like, we got to make the money.
Well,
Throw it out there. Get it out there quickly.
Make it computer.
Well, and so I guess they created this computer to help, computer literacy.
Yeah.
And
Enter
so-
the technology kind of age.
Yeah,
Right.
They were
I'm sure it's
entering-
aged well.
Yeah.
It's like, turn this knob.
Now it's 40 years old this year.
Wow.
Really? Did you have a picture of it?
Yeah.
That computer.
Yeah,
Wow.
it looks like a
Hey, you know
regular-
what?
Yeah.
see?
Like
Back in
Commodore
the day?
or whatever.
Yeah, that's not too bad. 40-year-old
81
computer.
was the year it came
What
out.
could you do on a computer of that era?
You can buy it.
Really? Like what can even be
$30.
done on something old?
So what they have on it's kind of like a blank slate. Think of it like that. You can put little like chips inside of it to let it do certain different things. So you can edit the chips to make them do certain programs.
I was going to make a
and things
Doritos joke, and I went, that's a hack joke.
like that. Doritos.
I was like,
Put some
Cool
Doritos.
Ranch. Wah, wah. I'll never be asked back.
You ever heard of DOS?
DOS.
Release them from the
Okay,
dungeon.
so early Windows, we use Windows, right? Early Windows would create this DOS. The DOS would lay on top of the hardware, and it would just be a black screen with a marker, right? And that marker would blink. And he's right. It's a blank slate. It allows you to program and code and do things. I mean, I remember my dad having like a Commodore 64 or Commodore.
Yeah.
He would write games and then play them.
That's that.
So it's pretty cool to think about.
Could you
The
boot up
ingenuity.
Elden Ring on this computer?
It would take some time
It would
and a
take
lot
some
of
time.
engineering and
it
some
would-
creativity.
it
I'm
would
sure
probably
you could boot
be-
up Tetris.
It would probably be still image, right?
It probably what would you consider it be booting up? I mean, just on the monitor or running through the actual DOS? That would be like it'd be like 8-bit. It'd be kind of weird.
No, it would,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it would not be moving because it's what it is. It would literally be still photos made out of like the ASCII character, right?
Yeah.
And basically, what would happen is it would become a line by line text RPG, like
kind of like
Walk
Oregon
into
Trail.
room.
Oregon Trail.
a green fog.
Oregon
approaches,
Trail. Oregon Trail's tight.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You're like approach green fog.
Oregon Trail's tight.
Yeah.
You'll
Take
die of.
flask.
Yeah.
Roll.
Yeah.
Roll.
Those are
Roll.
What's the disease you die
You
from on
die.
Oregon Trail?
dysentery.
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 It'll get you every time, brother.
Well, no, you shouldn't be dysentery.
That one actually made me laugh. I haven't laughed at a single one of your dad jokes, and for some reason that one really got me. Oh, the sugar-free ginger ale right now,
It's really
brother.
gotten to you.
Got him pumped.
Yeah, brother. Back to Aaron on the boneyard. Sugar-free ginger ale.
Oh.
I forgot what we're talking about again.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're nice and loose in this episode.
So we're talking about a 1980s computer and a guy named Ken Webster in the UK in a small town. This town was like the center point of this computer literacy boom that they were trying to do. And so this guy was a university graduate. He taught at the local high school, and he was part of this program where they loaded up these computers on the school. And again, because this was kind of the center point, the like prominent area where they were trying to kick off this literacy program, he was able to take this computer home. So kind of the backstory of this. So he would take it home. He had his roommate, Nick, and his girlfriend, his 10-year younger girlfriend, and they lived in this house. And
well, how old is he? That determines if
Cool or not.
I'm sorry.
I think
Did
he
you
was
see how
25.
big that thing was? Like,
Yeah, he's taking that. I thought that too. He's taking that home every
when I
night.
was like 15, and my tower was massive. This thing is like 3 times the size of that. Like he's like, I'm just gonna take it home tonight.
Hey.
Let me grab this 150 pound PC and
Put
move
it in a
it.
flatbed truck.
Right?
Take
The
it home.
amount of cables to plug it in, you're just like, this is ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not a portable laptop.
just for the advancement
Yeah,
of
because
education.
think about like the teardown. This we got to put in a vehicle,
The process.
get it to your house, and then install. It's probably like 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Like, well, I'll do it all again tomorrow.
So he takes this thing home, and they mess around on it. He lets Nick play around on it. And the backstory is they go out on like a Christmas Eve or right around Christmas time. They go out, they let the computer running, and they come back. And Ken, he jumps into the computer.
Wait, what?
Not literally.
Oh,
like
sorry.
literally.
Not literally jumps in.
Hey,
I
Uh,
jumped in.
stay off the ginger ale, bro.
Yeah, I know, I'm
Starting to
gonna
get
loop it.
concerned.
Also, before we continue, it's just something to note. There's like we said, it's a blank slate, but they're
Mhm.
using a chip that called it's a word processor. It's called Edward. The name of it.
Okay.
Ed-
So
It's
Edward,
like
not like EDWARD. It's Ed.
Edward.
But it's
Word.
like Jarvis. It's like it's
Yeah.
no, it's nothing like
Not,
that.
well, I don't know.
It's not AI.
No.
It's-
I think Edward means education, and then the word
Word,
processing.
and then word
Oh,
processing.
that's
it's
a
Yes.
side though. It has a name.
Yeah, it's
just cool that-
it's an app essentially. It's an application
Yeah.
that he uses to
So
do
he
the word
comes
typing.
home. He's on the computer.
He goes in and checks on it because he just wanted to see like what Nick was doing and everything, and he uncovered a file called KDN.
ADN.
Right. I'm just gonna read what this one says. And
Ooh.
there was a lot of messages that happened through this process, but I'm gonna read this one. Okay.
The plot thickens.
So it says, Ken, Dieb, Nick, true are the nightmares of the person that fears. Safe are the bodies of the silent world. Turn, pretty flower, turn towards the sun, for you shall grow and sow. But the flower reaches too high and withers in burning light. Get out your bricks. Pussycat, pussycat, went to London to seek fame and fortune. Faith may not be lost, for this shall be your redeemer.
I think that's a Megan the Stallion song.
Right? Like, well, that's what's funny is they figured it was their buddy. They're like Nick and
Nick
Ken
just-
were like, nah, that
Yeah.
wasn't us. So they figured it was their buddy John, who
Yeah.
was trying to ramp up this band, and he would come over often.
Oh, he's like
and
writing
write-
lyrics.
That's what
Yeah.
they figured. They
Yeah.
figured he jumped in and was trying to write lyrics for a new song. Though it makes
They're
it
like,
cool.
hey guy, this song sucks.
Right. So exactly.
What can we do about Pussycat?
Yeah.
Can we change that?
Hey,
Doesn't seem to go with the rest of
yeah,
the.
hey, I've showed a couple people your
lyrics.
song.
It's
It doesn't really flow well.
yeah, we're gonna need you to.
You say
just-
Pussycat 4 times in a row, and it's not the chorus. Is
Yeah.
that Tom Jones song?
Yeah. 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 just tilting. You're tilting.
Yeah, I
So-
like this. The Titanic's sinking right now.
It's going down. So
Yeah.
he takes the computer back.
Mhm.
He loads it up on his flatbed as DJ so elegantly put it. And later on takes another one. I think not, but doesn't until 1985. I didn't catch when he originally took the first one home, but it made reference as if it'd been like a year or something like that.
Yeah, it was 1984.
So if I'm following over a period of time, this guy's taking using
But
those.
and so there was a span between taking that one back and about a year or so he takes another one home.
So he takes a different.
Yeah, because it's part of his job and a part of
I got you.
this particular school. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so again, they go out. They had left this one on. It comes back, and there's a file called Re8, not create, but Re8.
Okay.
Okay. And then this one, the person writes in like an old English dialect, right? So,
Ye old, what's it, Cather?
I'm waiting for Cody's. Like he always throws in those voices. So you're gonna give us a
15th century accent.
Hey,
come on,
let's put you on the,
Scottish
yeah, let's
accent.
put you on the
Well, I
spot
don't
right
know
now, guy.
Scotland, but yeah,
His accent that he did during what was it, Zodiac?
yeah,
Possibly the
Oh.
worst accent of all time.
Great.
I digged it.
Whoa.
I digged it. It was good. Yes. So
Can't pull that out.
in the
Yeah.
right,
It just has to come.
Freedom.
Yeah, I have no.
so in this old English writing, this guy writes about a guy named he knows, Edmund Gray. He mentions the king, which, by the way, at this time there was no king; it was a queen.
Yeah.
Okay, so he mentions it being in the era of the king, and then it was signed L.W. Right. So Ken and a fellow English teacher and another friend, they were like, hey, they believe something was up. They start believing that there was some kind of, somebody breaking in. They really believe something was going on.
Because they're getting all these weird messages on it.
Right. And so they go back and they type back to this person, and they mention the queen. They mention, hey, are you in 1620? Couldn't figure out why they just randomly picked out 1620. But LW responded. Speaking of horses, Henry VIII.
Mm.
And he signed it LW March 28th, 1521. Okay.
The plot really.
So 1521. So
Are you gonna read the actual text from
that particular one I didn't.
that guy?
No, you want to read it?
Yeah, I want to pull it up. Just give me a second.
I didn't because it's very hard to
Well, the
read.
dialect,
Hey,
right?
wait. If
So-
you're gonna read it, you got to read it with an
Yeah.
accent.
I'll try my best.
Let's
Here,
do
while
this.
you're pulling that up, so basically the timeline is because of work, taking computers home.
Yeah.
It takes the person home. He gets a weird message. Year later, another computer. Now he's getting another weird message. An old company.
And this one, they're like, now they're thinking something's up.
Yeah,
Again.
something's up.
Yeah.
And this is 1986, 84.
85.
84, 85.
84 to 85 was the two computers.
So I got a question for Andy. That time, could you direct message?
It wasn't
N-
traditionally, no.
Because that's what I'm trying to think. Like his mindset is he's
No,
got
and
stuff.
even the way that they're finding, they're not direct message. They're actually finding these in an editor file.
Like an embedded
Yeah.
file.
Okay.
So the
Because
only
I'm trying
way
to set the stage because it's not like today. Back
no,
then, this wasn't.
no, one,
It's like
But
you
we-
opening a computer and pulling up a Word doc,
Yeah.
in a sense.
Exactly.
it's even worse.
a little more
It's like
complicated
pulling
than
up.
that, yeah.
It's like pulling up Notepad,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then
for sure.
Because I'll be honest with you. So in early IT, we would
That's a good
go
example.
and we were remote into someone's system, right?
Right.
Now, a lot of times they would be able to watch what you were doing, but the applications we used back then weren't very sophisticated. They didn't have like a note or a chat window,
Mhm.
right? So we would, if we had a question or we wanted them to do something, I'm like, oh, hey, I need them to log in.
Mhm.
I could pick up the phone, or I could just go Windows, Notepad, and I could type into that window, hey, I need you to log into this window.
Mhm.
They would log in, and then they would go back to Notepad and go, okay, just did it. There you go. And I'll go, okay, this is going to take me 15 to 20 minutes. And they would go, okay, cool. Just call me when you're done. And you have this dialogue happening with
Okay.
WordPad. So
Because-
we'll get deeper into this, but my intention is that the only way for something to happen is someone had to put it.
Yeah, that's my point. 'Cause pre-internet, there's no way someone can hack in or send anything to. There's no email. There's nothing. You basically have to go into this computer, open up this Word document, type, leave. So someone has to access it manually.
Or it could be created elsewhere and then somehow put on. In
Yeah,
81,
But
I
it's
don't
not
know
being.
that
It's not being sent. Someone has to have access to
No,
the actual
no.
computer.
And I would say back then in 81, you didn't even really have the ability to move things from one computer to another without
things are. It's
a large amount of
so
work.
it's not. It's
involved.
probably
So
not
it was done on the device,
That's-
in my opinion.
because it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Cody, how you doing with quote?
I think I have it.
Are you trying to read it?
I am. I'm trying to read it
It's
because
confusing.
It's difficult.
It's rough
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
because
Like
'Cause
16th century English
it's-
was
super old English.
Give it a swing for the fence.
So he goes, I write on behalf of many, what strange. He spells.
Oh, there
what.
we go.
He spells what with WOT. That's why I
What?
have to say it
What?
like that.
Yeah.
So I write on behalf of many. What strange words thou speak? Although I must confess that I have only been ill-schooled, or that I also had been ill-schooled. Sometimes
He ain't too smart.
Sometimes
Yeah.
methinks alterations
Sometimes methinks.
are somewhat barful.
Try to do it more of like a Cockney accent, like "oh, mate." That's what it sounds
For they
like.
break mine sleep in mine bed. Thou art godly man,
That's
and
it.
hath fanciful woman who dwelleth in thine home. I have no want to affray, for on lie since mine half-witted antic had ripped a twain, mine bound hath I been wretched at night. I hath seen many alterations, lastly charge house and thou home. 'Tis fitting place with light,
So
which
this-
devil marketh.
Can I step in? Whatever.
Yeah, go ahead.
Madness. I know nothing about what's happened. By the way, I'm just a guest here. I don't really have. Last time I was on here, we talked about ghosts and the Warrens. I have some affinity in that. We talked to JFK, which I'm obsessed with. This one I'm going in blinds. I'm not trying to spoil, but it sounds like this is kind of a pen pal situation where this person is writing, like 'cause he's like, giving him like life spiel.
Yeah.
It's kind of like this is what I'm picking up on. We'll see where this goes.
Yeah, no,
Right.
this message comes after or when he gets the new computer, right?
New computer,
The other,
yep.
he finds this message on there and
Mhm.
goes, it looks like there's some communication going on. Look, there might have been some past communication. He's confused about the words used in the last message that had been there.
Well, and to jump back to the first computer and messages, that wasn't old 16th century
Yeah.
English. It was
More modern.
Yeah.
right. So
I will say that this, there's the doc name on this is KDN. The mode is created, but the doc is still KDN on this picture. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I just thought I'd throw that out there. So it could be the same computer. I don't know if it was the same one or if it was different
Okay.
one, but either way, he did get a computer back. But then he goes on to say that like you said, like they respond and they go, hey, what year are you in? Like, what's going on? Like, they try to ask a bunch of different things about this guy, right?
yeah. Well, they come
So
back.
where we go
Ken,
from here?
because Ken he writes back
We pick it back
and
up.
said that hey, we're from 1985.
Yeah.
And mentions the Queen because
Yeah.
again, it wasn't a king at the time; it was the Queen. And this is like I guess where it gets a little funny. The old English guy writes back and said, and again, he's going to do it. It was all in this old English stuff, but he says, I thought you were like your friend from 2109 there was another word that was used, but it was translated into basically, I thought you were a friend of who brought us the box of light.
Yeah, the box of lights from 2109.
And again, so this is pre-internet because your brain, because you grew up in the modern era, you think, they're messaging with some stranger on the internet. That's not happening. It's impossible.
Right.
This thing isn't connected to internet at all. Yeah.
So, but there is this messaging happening in the moment?
Yeah, that's my question. Is the response? You don't really go into it here, but when they reply back to LW saying what they say about
Couple
the Queen,
days or
when are they getting the response back from LW saying, "Oh, I thought you were the one from 2109"?
It depends on which one we're talking about, but there's an instance where it's usually not instant like that.
Yeah.
They save the doc file as it was. They write all the doc file, they save it, then they leave to go to the Red Lion pub, which is down the street.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
they'll have a pub for a little bit. They'll come back at night and then they'll have a new message.
And that was this one.
Okay,
That's I was
Okay.
just getting ready to say.
Yeah.
So they wrote this message to
so
LW.
time lapses.
They went to the bar,
And there's a correspondent.
had a few beers, and came home, and this message was there. And so now they're like, okay. And so Ken wrote directly to 2109, asking some questions. 2109 comes back.
To the box of light. Okay, so box of light, that's computer. then.
Computer.
most likely.
Box
yeah.
of
Right.
light. So
Mhm.
we're talking about a time traveling computer.
Well,
Well,
or a
it looks like there's
time
this
traveler
There's an
Time traveler.
entity named
In-
2109 or from 2109.
that
we'll just
is
call them that.
bringing the box of light to different eras.
Yeah.
right.
Well, at least
and they're,
one.
and they're
And
corresponding.
of all
Yeah.
of those, he picked a BBC computer.
He picked that was my thought.
I mean, they are
Perhaps.
$25 now. I mean,
That's
Awesome.
true. Okay, so the time traveler. The plot
Yeah.
thickens. What's happening now?
So 21. So Ken decides I'm going to write the 2109. He writes 2109. 2109 writes back talking about they have two choices. The one choice in particular, which is what I want to kind of focus on, was 2109 says to them that the three, meaning him, and at this point now it's Ken, his girl Debbie, and John. Right? It's these three. Or excuse me, Debbie's not his girl. Or Debbie is his girl. I think John is the other teacher or something like that. But anyways, there's these three individuals, and they're kind of doing this together. And 2109 comes back and says these two choices. And one of the choices was, and 2109 says we're not going to push you or tell you how to make your choice. You have to decide your own destiny. But that the three of you would shape the world.
So we've got a Bill and Ted situation.
Yeah.
Bill and Ted's Adventure.
I just watched the new one. It was really, I struggled.
So they said, wait,
Yeah.
I struggled. I was really.
it's hard to see. It wasn't terrible, but they're definitely older. Hard to see her growth.
I think you're talking about more of the plot line that it ended up being the kids, right?
Yeah. It was just,
I thought the kids did a good job of pretending.
I did too. I thought for the ones that they got to pretend to be their kids.
I thought they were actually
I know we're
pretty good.
rapid trailing here,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, we really just pivoted. It pivoted
Movie
with
review.
excellent.
with TJ.
So,
Sorry.
So 2109 does finish
So
off
we said,
saying,
real quick, they said they're going to shape the future. Do
Yeah.
we have the last names of these people? Is like one of them like Gates? I don't know.
No.
Honestly,
Ken
like,
Webster.
is like one of the last Ken Webster.
Ken Webster is the teacher.
Perhaps Webster's
the main-
dictionary.
No.
Okay, well then
I don't
nothing. Nothing personal. 2009. I haven't heard of these people.
But they're writing from 21. They're writing from the year 2109. So we're not there yet, right?
You're
we're in
assuming-
2022.
You're assuming shape the future means like a large shaping. It could just be like a shaving. Maybe
It could.
Maybe we're talking about it today in
Yeah.
2021 on a podcast in Vacaville, California.
But just keep in mind too, there's a little more that we're gonna.
Okay. All right.
And the fact that this whole thing happens,
Okay.
and then Ken and the other two make choices to try to uncover.
Okay. So I'll
the
let you.
potential
I'll
of time
let
travel.
the story continue to unfold.
They
So-
could have not. They could have chosen to keep it under wraps, and that's kind of what the 2109 is saying. Because the first choice was you could basically do nothing. You could just pretend this isn't happening. This is fake, or you can make this choice, and you three will shape the world, and we will not guide you in what you need to do
Now
for your destiny.
It's Morpheus. We've got a red pill, blue pill situation,
Right? Make the
Two-
choice.
and also two Keanu Reeves
he doesn't-
movies we've just mentioned.
They don't.
Yes.
Do they
Yes.
propose the choices? Maybe I misunderstood that.
They do propose two
They
choices.
do. They do.
They give
Okay.
them two choices, but then they say we will not.
No,
and
that
then-
literally is the same thing from The Matrix. He goes, you can either go back and pretend this didn't happen,
Right.
or open your mind, and me, the future time traveler, is going to show you.
And who's to think the brothers that wrote Matrix didn't use a piece of this, right? I mean, that's
yeah, who's to
Yes.
say
because this
that
is.
they aren't?
And then they end 2109 says, and we are part of the same God. That's how they finish.
Oh, now we're getting off the rails.
Yep. So that takes place.
Sounds like a bunch of.
Well, one of the things here too is it actually says. I don't know if you said this,
Man.
but 2109 was on the same plot, meaning that like he lived in the same house, the same space
LW.
as.
We don't know that about 2109.
Yeah, LW.
LW is from the past, from 16th
Whoa,
century.
whoa! So LW lived in the same house that they're in.
Yes.
Yes.
And he
Whoa, brother, you
he-
guys are leaving out
he
crucial
also-
details,
He
brother.
also confirms that by like saying like there's red brick underneath the house, and when they excavated it, they
Whoa.
found that out. Yep.
That nobody knew was there.
Yep.
So this. Okay, you guys are
His
leaving
name's
crucial
Lucas, right? He goes
details
by
out.
Lucas.
Yeah.
You find that out later.
Yeah.
He ends up saying Lucas. So LW Lucas.
That's crazy. So the guy, so the computer's traveling back to the house. Then Luke,
He
Okay.
says because he in part of that like what Cody's reading. If you read it slowly, he's basically talking about you like this guy being in his house.
okay, well I didn't understand because
I
it
know
was
it's hard to
nonsense.
understand. I know you have to read it and slow it down.
It's
Well,
it's
he's British. So.
it's frequency.
Yeah.
It's frequency.
Oh yeah.
frequency. Dude, so many
frequency.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that movie's
That's a
great.
good movie.
I love
It-
Frequency.
That's a
right?
good movie. Yeah.
a lot of good movies.
That's what it is, right? Generations past, they're in the same space.
Yep.
Experiencing.
So we're
things in different
talking
timelines.
time travel. That's wild.
Well, the time travel piece would be the fact that they got a computer sent to them in
Mm-hmm.
1521.
Yeah, that is.
So-
and then Yeah.
So
It'd have to be the same computer, and then they're leaving the messages on there, and those messages are on there for numbers of years, 300 years. You know,
3.
they're being written in his timeline, and they're appearing,
and then it
as if
show up when they all go to the pub and get hammered.
It's the lake house,
and then they come. It's the lake house.
Oh my god!
The greatest of time travel movies, the lake house.
Back to the Future is the greatest time travel.
No, it's the time traveler's wife. Anyway,
I should have known you were going to say that.
So something else super interesting is he does sign off as LW, but later on we find out his real name is Thomas Hardin. Is his real name.
And they look back on Thomas Hardin, and it matches everything that this guy, like he says, he went to this particular university at Oxford or part of Oxford.
I believe you.
And they find it, and he was there.
But why sign LW or Lucas?
He said he was something about fearing for.
Yeah, he was scared to reveal that type of information because
he didn't want to get doxxed.
Because he doesn't really know what's going on.
Yeah, he doesn't know what's going on.
He didn't want to get doxxed. Dude.
Is that a pun?
And they're like, no, we live in the same home.
He didn't want to get doxxed.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
there's
he doesn't.
some level of fear.
I mean,
because he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't understand what's going on. So he's like, he's going to do what 2109 told him to do.
Yeah.
And so he's doing it, but he's not going to give who he is because he doesn't know what's going on.
So LW is his Twitter name.
Right. It's his handle.
Got it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Got it.
But so Thomas Hardin, like he said, is verifiable, like graduated from this university, Oxford University, right over there. You can find his name in there. And what's crazy about if this were to be a hoax, the person like doesn't have access to like this kind of that kind of information on the internet in 1984 when all this is happening. Because this isn't happening like today. This is happening in 1984.
That's what I'm saying. This is pre-internet.
You couldn't prove this till way later.
Yeah, you couldn't prove. You'd have to go to Oxford, literally like look up who was in here, get a name, and do all this
Time
research,
and everything.
find out that Thomas Hardin lived in the same building that they do, and all this stuff.
And they're not doing that because most British people are at the pub getting hammered.
Exactly.
Even crazier, when he mentions Henry VIII, he says Henry VIII, right? And he mentions and he says 1521. He says Henry VIII was 46. Well, like in 1984, again, no internet. Everybody was in the assumption that Henry VIII was like 30 around then. Many, many years later, you start to do research, you find out he was in his 40s around this time frame. So at first they thought it was a discrepancy, but again, many years go by and they start digging in, and you start looking at Henry VIII's life, and you realize he was 40. He was like mid 40s.
All right, color me intrigued. Where else does this story go?
Oh, this gets crazy. You ready?
Take me down the rabbit hole.
So all this stuff's happening. They're like, we want proof. We want to prove that this is really happening. So they go to this
to the pub.
This psychical research society, the SPR.
Cycling?
We're gonna call them the SPR.
Okay.
And so SPR is like, all right, we'll test this.
Okay.
So they take the computer from him, from Ken. They completely isolate Ken. They write to 2109 10 questions. Okay. So they're like, we're going to 10 questions. They don't tell anything. They don't tell Ken about the questions. They don't anything.
No.
2109 responds. Doesn't answer the questions. However, through what they write, they are acknowledging the questions, but they choose not to answer it. But what they do say is, you need to stop interfering. And so they go on this rant about like what's happening. And they say, yeah, you could choose other people. You could choose to believe or not. We don't care. And that, again, so the first thing out their mouths is you need to stop interfering.
The 2209 is like, stop.
2109.
21.
Yeah, he tells these people, so because they write these 10 questions.
Yeah,
they don't answer the questions, but they acknowledge them in their writing. That because they say,
we see your questions.
Like they run around the questions. Like, we're not going to answer them, but we hear what you're saying. Like, it's,
I got you.
They do this thing where they basically say like
you're saying they is the group of
the
people?
SPR.
Oh.
We'll call them
No, I'm talking about 2109.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's
because we don't know their gender. So
right,
they,
we don't know. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying this is
it could be a multitude of people. I don't know.
Or it could be a collective.
Yeah, no. So 2109 basically is saying that they can't directly interfere with how you perceive things or think about things, so they can't answer those types of questions or certain questions. So they're like, they've already said that in a previous message where they're like, we can't answer that directly because we can't have that kind of influence on your mind.
We're talking about the butterfly effect.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
We're talking butterfly effect.
Yeah.
Ashton Kutcher.
Yes.
No? All right.
4 movies.
Huh?
We've now listed 4 movies. Excellent.
We've listed 4 movies. Bill and Ted.
Frequency, Lighthouse.
Matrix,
Lake House. Oh,
and now
yeah.
so actually
Back to
5.
the Future. Yeah.
Yeah, Back to the Future.
So, anyways, fun fact: the two of the men that were part of SBR that did the investigation, one of them fairly after resigned, the other one disappeared without a trace.
Interesting.
So keep in mind, they said stop interfering.
But they wouldn't stop, so they had to get involved. Well, if you're concerned about a butterfly effect, well, I guess if he disappeared without a trace, they're not really affecting. Well, I don't know.
Well, if 2109 came and snatched him and took him this way that they couldn't alter
2109.
time.
But what do they all? Well, they're altering time. Clearly, we don't want a butterfly effect. But why are they interacting with these schlubs?
Why travel back to 1521 to give someone that doesn't understand basic English education a computer to somehow communicate with the future?
Because whoever 2109 is believes that Ken and his little posse right there have some effect in world shaping.
But they're worried about telling them and influencing what happens.
Yeah, it's a very delicate
That
thing.
to me is,
Well, that's why they give them choices.
but it's counterproductive. Like, so you're saying I don't want to influence you, but I want to influence.
They want to influence them in a certain way, kind of like Inception.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so but
There's the
if
design behind it, but Ken had to make the choice.
somehow they figured out that they needed to influence these people.
Correct.
They're from the future.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
what I'm
they-
saying.
And so they go back in the past.
So how would they know that what they're doing? This now we're getting into time travel jargon.
Yeah.
That what they're doing, like how do you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to say,
Yeah.
how do they know that these people need to be influenced because they would have had to have already been influenced to do the thing.
Multiple timelines.
Now we're getting okay.
Well,
we're talking
no,
about
maybe-
different timeline.
And then, or possibly they know that whatever's happening in 2109, they need it to, maybe some bad stuff's going down, so they need it to shape a little bit.
Okay, so
And the
shape
only way
it.
to do it is to
So we're
go back
going
to
to
this
influence
individual.
these 3 drunk British people.
Just
with
because
bad
they go to
taste.
the pub doesn't mean they're drunk.
I know.
He's a college education. I mean,
Well,
to each your own.
You know what I'm saying?
And he teaches
know.
at a high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
College educated teachers at high school
He likes to
sounds
have-
like an
it's like
alcoholic
every-
to me.
They're all alcoholics.
Yeah,
We
we
got some teachers
listening.
listening, going, "What?"
No, we don't, because they're all at the pub right now. Anyway,
We don't claim that. So, anyways, for whatever reason, they needed, but that's why they couldn't directly say, "Hey, Ken, you need to do X, Y, Z." They needed to choose. So
you have to choose. It's matrix.
and then the thought process behind the why they go back to the 16th century is again tying in those pieces where nobody knew that this guy was from Oxford, and the fact that he lived in his
Okay.
house.
So where's the story go from here? What, they just keep corresponding with
Well,
each other?
So there was messages. They at one point they write and they say to find Gary Rowe, right? And then they give a phone number. The Gary Rowe thing.
Yeah. So basically he's like he's an alien UFO guy. Right?
Yeah.
He's a
Yes.
kind of a
Oh wait. Yes. I'm already in.
He's me in 1985.
So now we know why Aaron has brought this to the table.
What?
Aliens.
I didn't bring this one to the table, but I will always find an alien in anything.
So they say go find this alien guy.
they give a number. They're saying, hey, show him this. So they basically give him some like instruction about doing some research for some
The thing about guys
UFO
like that
stuff.
is they could show him anything and he'd probably be like, "Yep,
Yep, totally.
And
I saw this in a dream. Totally gonna
Yeah,
do this or whatever.
totally."
Yeah. No, but I don't know where it goes after that. But there is some other weird phenomenon that happened to the family in the house, though.
Yes.
We're gonna go over that.
Here
So
we
we're
go.
gonna go into this. It's kind of creepy.
Take me there.
All right. So
You know that I believe in all kinds of things, and I want to believe in ghosts.
So, one night they get up and in their kitchen is stacked tins, and by tins like pots, pans,
Pots, pans.
perfectly stacked. I think there was even a picture,
And we
Yeah,
all
an actual picture
know,
of this.
Of it, yeah.
and it's
and we know ghosts like stack things from Ghostbusters.
Yeah, I don't think, but it's people from the future coming in and doing it
Oh, dang it. Okay, so
because they're really trying to get everything they do. I
Okay,
believe
so they
even
s-
Gary Rowe, it's about getting Ken and his posse to believe what is happening is happening.
So they stack the pots and pans.
So they stack the pots and pans. Some other things were like chalk markings started just popping up out of nowhere, including some weird figures, some weird markings, and then words. Another one was Debbie. Okay. So Debbie comes home.
Wait, who's Debbie?
So Debbie, I believe is Ken's 10-year younger girlfriend.
Oh yeah.
So she comes home, and
How old's Ken?
I don't know,
Want to make sure we're in
24. I'm kidding, bro. I have no idea. Probably 30s.
All right, that's
So Ken,
but you're not in the danger zone.
so Ken comes home, and this one, what I'm about to say is, there's also a picture of this
Whoa,
one.
okay, I'm looking at this picture right now. I'm
Yeah.
reacting live.
Yeah.
These pots and
Tell the
pans
listeners what you're seeing,
are definitely stacked,
and not like you stack them in
and
your
they
in your
are stacked
cupboard.
in a way that they would definitely fall over.
Right, and they did not.
Assuming this is not CGI, this is very convincing evidence. These are stacked. Fall over. Andy, thoughts on that? Did you see that? Unimpressed. Andy is.
Andy's, yeah, he's not digging this.
The-
He's
Dude,
not. He's not sure of what's
I
going
want to
on.
meet the guy because this dude's legit on computers and somehow has the ability to sneak in like a ninja and stack pots without making a fall.
Yeah.
So what else do you do in the house? More goofy stuff?
So Debbie pulls up to the house. She just went to the market, and she's walking up. And every day when she gets home, they have cats, and these cats always come, and they come up, and they say hi to her and do what
Mhm.
cats do, like, hey, feed us, we love you, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
These cats
as cats.
they would not. They were like up on a fence, like staring blankly,
Mhm.
not moving, not coming to her at all. She thought that was very strange because that's never what's going on. She walks in the house, and keep in mind, I'm sure your families have had furniture from the 1980s.
Yeah.
Furniture from the 1980s was not from IKEA, so it was extremely heavy, and all of their heavy furniture was now
another
stacked.
picture. Whoa, goo, look at that. I'm looking at this other picture to describe to the listeners. There is a bunch of furniture stacked all in the corner in a very obscure way. Yeah.
You said
Okay.
it had looked like a giant had flipped them
Yeah.
on their side, like just flipped them all up.
All of-
That's bad. But what I'm looking at is that
We're talking-
shag carpet.
He's like,
Good.
"Where'd
It's
I
the-
get
it's
one
85,
of
man."
those?"
Popcorn ceiling. That's going to be a mess in 20 years. All right.
Asbestos.
Yeah.
Hey,
You
so-
like it? The real killer is asbestos. You want to help out 2109?
So again, at this point, all of these things lead up to Ken, Debbie, and John, and trying to alleviate any level of skepticism,
Okay.
right? Because they're trying to convey this. So here's this furniture, hundreds,
Andy seems unimpressed.
hundreds of pounds of furniture, stacked up. You
Yeah.
saw it.
Yes, I saw
That
it.
was an actual picture. This one, I don't know. Debbie said she started having visions and dreams of Lucas.
Now we're getting to the good stuff. With a little phrase I like to say, mental health issues. We've got Debbie, she's seen visions.
yeah.
Or maybe it's real. I don't know.
And I couldn't figure out why this was important. So I don't know if Cody knows this part, but something to do with they dug into the history of the cottage in the area, and there were some ancient ley lines.
They
Hey,
didn't.
we're going off the
No,
rails.
no,
now.
he's right. So I looked at this too, and they didn't really go anywhere with it in the documentary ever. They
Right.
just kind of said it. Basically, there's supposed to be some sacred ground that runs right through their cottage and this house.
Poltergeist style.
Yeah. So like on the map, if you look at it, I don't know what the significance of it was. But I do know that they talked about that in the documentary very briefly. My guess is that there wasn't much to talk about, so that's probably why they left it out.
Yeah, they're like, hey, we got some extra stuff. It is
Yeah.
some
It's
ley line.
probably just another historical anchor, right? So the idea that this person's talking to someone from the past and someone from the future, they need the person from the future to come in and move this furniture around and do all these things. The person from the past has to give them proof, essentially, that it's them. They even actually translated what he's saying, broken.
Oh, read it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually quite a few messages that they translated, which I thought was in the book. The very first.
And we'll talk about the book here in a minute.
Oh, there's a book?
Yeah. Well, we'll get into that.
The vertical plane.
Doesn't fool my servant. Think that you are all in my head. He says that I act like a seer, but I know you live there now. He also says that my blood is poison, but it is in imagine. So is my weakness. But I am not mad. I think. I told him. I also said it is likely fairly gold that he should keep it. keep it secret until I write.
So that's almost as confusing as the
So
original.
we'll keep
Well,
it
basically
mind.
that he's being
So-
persecuted in his time for
believing.
talking and
Ah,
believing about
yes.
this. So he's talking and giving.
People are thinking he's crazy.
Yes, but this is the person that was writing present day 85.
And the skeptics are like, couple things. They're like, if he's got this box of light, this computer, why wouldn't he just show it to the people that
Mhm.
are? But again, you don't know what 2109 said to him. 2109 said could have been like, hey, you show this to anybody, and that's a wrap.
So what are we thinking? 2109 is if
I
you
don't know.
if
We
time
got
travel.
another 87 years to find out.
But what's your theory? Time travel is the ability where he can only do it and communicate via this computer. Like, why can't he show up in person and talk to them, or can you only send a computer back?
Well, I mean, all that can be taken in different ways. We've seen 1,000 different ways that time travel could work. I, for whatever reason, keeps popping in my mind is a show that actually is from Canada called Continuum,
Yeah.
and
That's
they want the future
I thought you were going to say
become
Quantum Leap.
different, right?
That's a great show, too.
Basically the future that we see that she comes from is where corporate America or corporate
Yeah.
has taken over the world, and it's become very like they
Mhm.
own law enforcement. It's very slave driven. It's very heavy. It's not a great time. And then she travels back, and this young genius that changes the world, change what he becomes in order to change the future, and it essentially works in the future. But
Yeah.
they talk about this alternate timeline, right? So where they're trying to change him. I mean, isn't that kind of like the premise of like the Terminator?
Yeah, Terminator is there. They have
They're
killed
trying to come
Sarah
back in.
Connor.
To stop John
Because-
Connor from being
John
born
Connor.
because he's a
Sarah
resistant.
Connor or John Connor. Son.
So same concept. If we're going to look at this through eyes that this is all real, the idea is that they're trying to get them to come to a certain.
Okay.
And if this is time travel with a different timeline,
Is
maybe
there-
they've attempted this before and it's failed.
In this documentary, is there speculation as to what this outcome could? Does 2109 try to lead them down a direction?
Or what the choices were. Did they talk about what the choices were?
Yeah. So Cody, can you find
Because
the
it
two
sounds like
choices?
there's this big
I only
moment
wrote
where
the
they're
one.
like, listen, we've got two options. You can either stay in your situation or you can get woke. And then they just stack pots
Well,
and pans. And I'm like,
I
well,
think
is that
if you're looking
getting
at
woke?
if you're looking at everything, I think that they're trying to tread lightly so that they don't overchange whatever they're trying to do. But they've probably in the 2109 heavily calculated
so why are
that they need a small tweak, because if they go back and they show up and they're like, hey Ken, I'm 2109 and all this, now you've got a physical person, you've got all this. They need Ken to believe, which is why they use the 16th century. They need Ken to believe.
I think 2109 is poor time traveler, if I can be honest. If I'm trying to get, do you go back to the, I mean, if you, I mean,
I
if I
agree
can
with them.
speculate, if you can go back to
You're
you go back to
Well-
your timeline, you're like, listen, we got to convince these guys. What do you got? And they're like, we could stack pots and pans in their living room. And you're like, I think that'll do it.
Doesn't that make you lean more towards like, paranormal ghosts?
Well,
What is it? It makes you like nothing. It's super
so after-
obscure. It's like a prank. It's like,
After
I'm
the
going to prank.
SPR, after the SPR thing, it said that
Let's toilet paper their house.
after the SPR thing, it said that Ken that they were still themselves very skeptical, right? They're just like they're still believing in a prank.
I'm just saying,
They're
if
still
I'm
believing
going, if you're skeptical and I'm trying to prove something, I would like prove something that's going to happen in the future because I'm a time traveler, or like
Yeah, the
there's
near future.
the
Yeah.
near future. Instead, he's like, let's go the pot and pan route. You're
Yeah.
like, well, not as is.
with the hundreds of pounds of furniture,
Yeah, he's like, oh yeah, or that. He's
chalk
I think
writings.
I think it's just a pissed off neighbor that sees them go to the pub, jumps in their house, stacks their furniture up real quick.
I think it's a bad time
types a
travel.
note.
but SPR took the computer, so who did that then? They had it in their possession.
Maybe one of the neighbors was the
Wait.
guy that worked at
Give me the
SBR.
neighbor, gets drunk, goes. As we've discussed, everyone in Britain is
Okay,
drunk all
Mind
the
you,
time.
mind you, this place is a small community. I don't know where SPR was, but Ken worked for an IT department, so he was associated with people that had the ability to do what we're talking about. Now, there's no Wi-Fi, there's no network, there's no internet. Right. So he's not.
You'd have to physically go
You'd
to
have
it
to
and do it.
physically touch it. So either this guy's the greatest hacker of all times, or we have to fade into the idea that this is actually happening, or he
Right.
has close contact to it.
So this was, according to a few different reports I read, this was confirmed, investigated by multiple agencies and authorities. That's all it says. You can't find details as far as the investigation. You can't find any of that. The book
the type of vagueness I like.
Ken ends up writing this book. Okay. You can, what was the name of the book again, Cody?
The vertical plane.
The Vertical Plane. So I challenge anybody that's listening, DJ, when you get a
Yeah,
chance,
of course.
go on Amazon and type in The Vertical Plane.
Audiobook.
No, you
No.
can get a paperback.
Low pop.
You-
No, I know that's
low-
available. I will be searching for the audio.
Yeah, good luck.
Good luck.
Oh yeah, no.
No.
Low
And not only that,
publication.
this small,
Oh, you can't find it.
it's low publication. They've limited it. Okay. So all you can do is you can find some information that somewhere along the way it's limited, because here's the thing, it's in high demand. Guess how much it's worth for
How
this
much?
tiny little
How much?
paperback? $1,000 for
$1,000
a
book.
used paperback book.
What's
So
in
if
this
is a
book?
This is
I
a
just scan copies of it on the internet. That's what I do.
Boom,
Pirate.
boom. You're
But-
from the pirate
but good luck
generation.
trying to find a bunch of stuff on this. But here's this book that's
Stuck
worth
at Metallica.
that's selling for $1,000.
Listen, Napster was in the right.
After
What?
what?
Napster.
Answer me this.
Andy's,
How many
Andy's the
illegal
pirating king.
downloads did you have on your computer around the time, what was it, 1999? Well, yeah, it was Napster.
I think the lawsuit.
Andy,
was
don't admit to
2000,
that.
that's the one. I'm
Is
not. I can't. I don't actually know how many.
I mean,
Um,
innumerable.
Fun fact.
Innumerable.
Fun fact.
fact.
Fun fact.
I found.
I'm cleaning out like computer boxes in the garage
Yeah.
to kind of thin out some of my stuff, and I'm like going through things. I find a binder. I'm like, oh, binder CD. I think it's like I flip it open. It's my movie. Like
Duh.
600 of them. Easy,
Just
easy,
rip.
easy.
To be fair, at the time,
Oh, I found a document
know,
that
it-
has all of the transcript. It's a Google Doc that has all of the.
Right?
No, it's not translated, but it's all. Well, it might be translated, but basically, it's
Well, drop some on us.
it's a Google.
Can you find the one with
it
the
has
choices?
It has all the statements that were given and all the transactions. Just a document, all
Wow.
the transactions.
That's great.
got it.
Probably.
Well, that's probably what somebody did. Like Andy said, somebody has the book and threw it up on a Google Doc. But again, if this is 100% fictional and there's no validity, who's limiting the publication of these books? Why is it $1,000? Because he's not making $1,000.
Well, okay. The premise of this whole thing apparently is to elevate these three individuals into some kind of greatness.
And they're
Here
so far
we-
they're pretty bad at
Here we
job.
are almost 40 years later, right? 38 years, 37, 38 years, right? I don't know who they are.
Yeah, here's what changes the
book
story
was
for
a
me.
low publication.
And what agencies investigated this?
What?
There is
Listen,
confirmation that there were, but it doesn't say who, why,
What are the last
information
names?
behind it.
Like, was his last name Madden? I don't
Yeah.
know.
well,
Like,
it's not John. I saw Nick. Was Nick the
Nick.
other?
No. Nick was the first roommate
Okay.
who they thought that
this story,
Nick moved out
this
later.
story
Got it.
changes for me if they're like, and then there was a third friend, and his name was Barack Obama, and then you're like, oh, but I haven't heard of any of these people.
No, yeah, Ken Webster was the main
And nobody.
protagonist here.
I think this is a story of failed time traveler. I think he's bad at his
But
job.
keep in mind, he was heading up the computer literacy program in an area that, like, even the queen, she herself, when this program went into play, she like gave her blessing to this little town.
So
right?
So maybe it's the opposite. What if the time traveler's job was to make them crazy, discredit them? What if he was going to, in the future, be a problem?
Maybe.
Oh,
And
Oh.
so they were like,
doubt. So they try to doubt. They actually.
so because it doesn't make sense, they're trying to help them in any way. This is madness. They're basically sending them into madness. So instead, they're going to say, "Hey, we need you to make these three people discredited and crazy, so that in the future they're not going to do what they're going to do because no one will believe them."
So if he was 30 in 1985, he'd be probably almost 80. Is Ken Webster still alive? Anybody?
well,
I didn't-
okay. I was born in 1985, so
All right.
But
I'll
he
be
was 30 something.
I'll be 37, so it would make him 67.
So he's 67.
Yeah.
I would believe
Can we-
he is,
let's see if we
unless
can-
he was at the pub a lot.
I have those two choices.
Died?
If we want them.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yes. What were the
Drop
two
the
things?
choices.
Okay, so they said, we are sorry that we can only give you two choices. Number one, that you either have your predicament explained in such a non-rhyme way that you may have instant understanding, but cause what you should not be to happen. Or two, try to understand that you three have a purpose that shall in your lifetime change the faces of history. We, 2109, must not affect your thoughts directly, but give you some sort of guidance that will allow room for you for your own destiny.
Well, that's nice. They guided them off a cliff. They didn't help them in any way.
The English that they use there is
That you either have your predicament explained in such a non-rhyme way that you may have instant understanding, but cause what you should not be to happen.
right. So they're using
Can I
a
just
lot of
mention that
double
Back to the
negatives
Future
there.
came out in 1985?
A ton of double
There you go.
negatives there. Right?
Non-rhyme way.
I think
Non-rhyme
this
way,
time-
instant
not
understanding.
to be.
The time
but
traveler is
cause that
trying
what
to
you should
confuse.
not to be happen, not be to happen.
Why speak?
He's trying to confuse them because listen. If this happened in modern era, all I would say is someone's trolling. Like it's so easy. But because of the era is the only thing, and
Yeah.
obviously
Well,
there's other.
I don't
things,
know that it makes
but-
it crazy. I think it makes it complex.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They
Like the
could,
complexity of it. If somebody was to let's go the realm of somebody actually hacked this device. The technology didn't exist.
that's what I'm
to be
saying.
able to
that-
do this
that
remotely.
like you're saying,
Right.
it makes it more complex. We're going, okay, something's up here. Something definitely is up. I mean, someone did leave these messages.
Mhm.
So let's just take the route that's all
So-
fake because
so
we're
again-
taking the route that's real. What if it's fake? What's happening?
So again, let's just take the piece. Okay, so you have this high school in this town,
Mhm.
and even though this literacy program was going across UK, this town had the most resources of these computers.
They wanted to shut down.
And in
town.
fact, it said that almost all the high schools, none of them had enough that every kid could have one. This one did, and none of them had enough that definitely a teacher couldn't take it home. But this one did.
So they're trying
It
to
was
shut
small.
down this
It was a
town.
small town.
But it
So-
was picked to run this. to
But it was
ramp
the
up this
smartest
literacy.
town in all of Britain, and they had to shut it down before they got too big. I don't know.
Well, no, I mean,
spitballing.
it didn't say why the queen, like ordained this to be selected in this town, and it just, who knows, right? But she did, and he was part of this school that had the extra resources so that he could take one home. In fact, he ends up taking two home, right? I mean, he takes the one home, takes one back, and gets a new one. So they had that. It said most of the schools only had like one per, like not like school, or maybe one per classroom. This one had enough for all the kids.
Yeah. So, but I'm
and he
just
can
saying,
take it home and-
so what's the relevancy to that?
So again, so as Andy
It
put
means
it,
that there are other individuals in the town that have the ability or
Ah,
potentially
I
have
see-
the ability.
I see what you're saying.
Now,
You're trying
mind
to draw a
you, Ken
line.
worked for the IT department. I looked that
Okay.
up. He
Yeah.
worked for the IT department,
part
so
of the
he
computer-
was
he was-
sophisticated enough.
that's
to
what I'm
understand
saying.
this.
Exactly. You would have had to have had somebody who could understand this. Also, like Andy put, had this been 12 years later, everybody would write it off as a complete hoax,
Yeah.
internet, right? Now you're like, hey, whatever. Is somebody screwing around on AOL dial-up,
This is
right?
interesting.
Or Netscape.
Yeah.
So you pick this person, you had to do it. You had to do it late enough that computers were ramping up, that there was a knowledge behind it, that somebody actually had education and schooling behind it. You go back to the 16th century because you find the person that lived in that house,
Mm.
right?
This is what the world may never know. I
Uh,
don't know.
2109.
2109. Are you listening?
It's just a very complex prank. It come on, it
Yeah.
ain't time travel.
It's not time travel. So the question is,
Want time travel to be real? I'll be real with you. Want it to be real, but
what it probably is one of the buddies snuck back after.
Yeah.
I could use the bathroom.
someone close enough to
But that
them.
doesn't explain SPR.
Which one's SPR?
SPR
they
was the
gave him
research facility
Yeah.
that took
So
the
that I
computer
don't
from
get.
him and isolated them from it.
Maybe, I guess, maybe the future time travel just sucks and you can only do it through old timey computers.
All BBC obscure
Yeah.
terminals.
Now, the
They're
only
like-
thing that did make sense, and again, I guess it could be explained, but one skeptic wrote, like, okay, so 16th century, he takes a computer back. How long did that battery in that computer last?
How did they get power to it?
Yeah,
I-
They could
I
have-
Probably
guess-
not intelligent enough to figure that out. But
that's what I'm
I
saying. They could have figured it out, but somebody did say that, and it was like, yeah, it kind of makes sense, I guess.
Well, maybe the 2109 person had a power source that
We'll
goes with
assume,
it.
we'll
An
assume that
unlimited
if
power source.
Yeah.
Look,
unlimited power.
So
I mean, if we have
Elon is
time
trying to
travel, we
create
have
that right
unlimited
now.
power. That's-
True, but the time travel seems
True.
janky. It seems early stages of time travel.
now,
Well, possible.
hear me.
It is
I'm
only 8
gonna
years
get a
from now.
little technical. It is possible
well, actually.
for an algorithm to be written to respond. Now, the response that we would see, the only one that would be something that could be created or kind of argued away on the SPR is that SPR has this isolated. They write a note and they wait for a response,
And they chose 10 specific questions.
but they don't answer the question. correct?
Yeah.
No, but they acknowledge the questions.
Yeah, but
They just don't blatantly. That's
Yes.
what SPR even says. They,
But listen to me.
It
Listen to me.
says,
Boolean logic.
yeah,
If then this.
right. I get
So
it.
if the idea is that I'm going to ask you a question,
Mhm.
I can have a preset response to say, can't answer that question.
No, they acknowledge them. They acknowledge it deeper than that. Cody, can you find that? Is that possible?
Yeah.
How do they
there
acknowledge them?
They use references towards the questions directly. They don't just say we can't answer that question. It uses references towards the question. They just
Again,
do not directly answer the question.
It's possible with algorithms to be able to do that. It's again way advanced for 85, but I think it's possible with logic, with Boolean logic, to be able to answer those questions and reiterate them.
But none of these people had any of that kind of coding knowledge. None of these people did.
But Aaron said this is the most advanced town.
No, Ken had possibly the ability, but the SPR did not. SPR
So is
was just
Ken-
another research facility that they
let's
take it
consider
to.
that Ken's the mastermind behind all of this, trying to get some
He
attention.
would probably have the
What
ability.
if Ken
Which is
set
why they
all of this
isolated
up?
Ken from it. He doesn't even know the questions.
But
He knew
Ken
nothing
could
other
he
questions.
program
had the
it.
original ability to program because these computers were based on the fact that you'd be able to program the language in or the application.
And if they
You
had
built the
vaguely
application.
responded, possibly, but
Mm.
they don't vaguely respond. They acknowledge the question directly.
Mm.
They just don't answer the question.
but acknowledge the question by reiterating
And that's
the
what
question.
he needs to. He'll find it and you'll hear it and you'll be like, okay, that makes sense. And that's what kind of freaked out SPR. Like, okay,
You give me a night, and I can respond to questions that I don't know you're going to ask.
yeah, but you're in the 21st century and
It goes back to
Hey,
my
give me a
theory.
night.
When was
Give me a
Boolean?
night.
Let me ask you a question. When was Boolean logic created?
I have no idea.
1854.
Okay.
This goes back to my theory. He's a
Way
bad time
before
traveler.
computers.
I think it's a bad
understand-
time
I get-
traveler. I just think you've stumped me. He's a bad time traveler. I think this guy just sucks. I think 2109 is a little, but he's in deep water here.
Yeah,
He's
well,
not
they
gonna
couldn't
handle
have came to today's era because too many people are on TikTok and watching videos of turtles, right? So they're like, this is not.
Well, you're watching videos of turtles specifically.
Pretty sure you showed it to me.
Well, then I guess we're complicit. So we're watching videos of turtles. So they're not going to come find me. They're going to be like, I don't think this guy's really going to help much in the future,
Right? Exactly.
unless it has something to do with turtle genetics.
Yeah.
But this is just beside the point.
It just seems like a lot of work.
It
A
It
does.
lot.
seems like
Yeah.
a lot of work.
The
to
guy's,
build.
hey, say what you will, the guy's a hustler.
If it is someone that is hoaxing, this person has an immense knowledge and has spent an immense amount of research to know things like the ley line, the person that lived there, the town, kind of what. I mean,
Yeah.
oh my goodness,
And
that's ridiculous.
And just to keep it real, the book really didn't gain traction until many years later. So it's not like, hey, I'm going to write this book and make a bunch of money off of it because he didn't even. The publication was limited. So I don't know. This guy's not famous. If you ask anybody who,
I think
Ken Webster is, you never
it's
even
either
heard
a
of him.
bad time traveler, it's all fake, or the time traveler is a great time traveler because he's trying to sabotage. That's why we haven't heard of him. He made him crazy.
or they answered the question and said, I just want to know. Tell me what I'm going to be.
Oh,
and
that's
then
true.
I won't become it.
That's true. What if
Right? They had two choices.
They had two. Yeah. What if they took the other choice?
Like, you know what? The not knowing.
And the pots and pans, he was petty. He was mad. He said, you know what? You took the wrong choice. I'm going to go toss your crap around and I'm going to stack all your
until you
pans.
change.
No, he was just like, screw these guys. I had to go all the way back to the 16th century with this giant computer. I did all this work and they took the blue pill and now I'm going to flip all their furniture around. And I'm not going to tell
They
them.
took the blue pill.
Yeah. And now I'm going to I'm not even going to tell about the asbestos in their ceiling, you know? So that's what it is. So if we're going with this premise, that makes more sense. They took Andy's route, which is they took the safe option. So we never heard who they were. And the time traveler got pissed and he went to their house. He stacked their pots and pans and he flipped all their furniture.
The
And he
only
said, suck it.
the only argument.
And then they never saw him again. He said, deuces, I'm going to go. And then he went to a guy who says, let's try Musk. I heard Musk is, maybe we could go talk to him.
Yes.
And Elon Musk took the red pill, baby.
Hmm.
Didn't make me up.
Hmm.
They said, we need this guy to buy Twitter. That's what it is. I bet you
Ready
if
for
you
this?
ask,
Elon,
what?
Elon Musk's uncle's name is Ken Webster.
don't
No
break it
way.
down even.
No, bro.
See,
Stop.
now, that would have been interesting.
That
Now
would
I'm
have been
like,
great.
But that would be
so
legit, right?
that's what it is, dude. I think they
Be
you
over
probably.
here Googling.
So Ken Webster probably could have been the next great thing. He's like if you watch Supernatural, anyone, he's like a crossroads demon. So like this guy denied him, so he went to the next guy, the Bill Gates and the Elon Musk, and then they made the deal. and now they're famous. That's what it is.
We're gonna bring
And-
DJ on a year later, and he's gonna talk about Supernatural.
It-
Like it's just inevitable, no matter.
Well, there's
no matter
15 seasons. There's
matter
a
how many
good chance that
times.
I'll still be watching them until the end
Right.
of time.
we could bring this guy on one day a month.
There's,
Gonna be
there's
Supernatural
unlimited
tie-ins.
things to talk about.
Cody, did you ever find it?
These are fascinating theories.
I have
gentlemen.
a little bit of it, but it's like hard to read right there. I need to find like a.
Let's talk time travel movies. What's your favorite?
Back to the
Aaron.
Future. I
Back
love
to, yeah,
the
yours
Future.
is Back to the
Yeah.
I'm
I love
sorry.
Back to the
I
Future.
found
Oh,
a fact
oh.
that I think is pretty important.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Let's
Uh,
go.
The chip that was used for Edward, the
Edward,
application,
Edward B or whatever.
was created 11 miles south.
Okay.
So it was created by someone that lived.
Yeah, I got you.
So if it's a hoax, there's a good standing on the fact that there's probably multiple people that lived close by that were probably facilitated with the person, knew Ken Webster,
Mhm.
and were able to facilitate.
But SPR's facility was nowhere near that, and they took it and isolated it. I mean, that's the only thing. It's just like, what do you do with that?
There's plenty of, I'm sure that people that worked at SPR were involved in some kind of development of this. Again,
So it's
technical
a
in
hoax.
85.
Dude,
There's not a wealth of knowledge
most
out there.
elaborate hoax in history.
Maybe.
Maybe they thought this was going to be bigger than it already was. Maybe they thought if we really blow this thing up, it's going to get some traction, and it just didn't. And that's when they got desperate. They were like, we're not getting any traction. Let's go. This is what they did. They jumped the shark. They were like, listen, we're trying this time travel. No one's writing about us in the papers. Let's go the supernatural. Let's go the paranormal route. Let's start stacking pots and pans.
Yeah.
Maybe that. And then no one cared. They're like,
So
all right, well, we tried.
the other theory too is that there is a way of hacking, but you could equipment RF signal as a way to as long RF frequencies before Wi-Fi
Oh, really?
as a way to interact with other equipment. If you had a knowledge of how that chip worked and you were in an area where you could reach it, RF signaling would allow you to do that. RF works really well in rural areas, right? Radio is what we use for frequency.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
did
yeah.
fire departments out, So,
So this was like
you don't have to
this
be
was
close.
like this was like old, like original forms of internet. Like it was feasible. It was feasible that two computers could talk to each other.
So RF data does cross RF at a much lower rate. So don't think of it like internet to where you could
Yeah, I had AOL.
See an
so
image or
I
anything
sat
like
there
that,
watching for
but
2 hours while that thing
it-
loaded.
theory, it is possible to program RF across, or at least push.
Huh.
I don't know about. It is data stream, so you could push and receive.
So
Think
I guess-
about like walkie-talkie is RF, right?
What are we
When I push
talking
a-
about here?
when I- We're
for
talking about the
people that don't-
potential
So
of being
like
able to
radio
hack this thing
frequency.
remote.
Okay.
So that would also explain SPR,
Yes.
assuming that we were to get to it.
Well, SPR is not. They were
Where were they
again, the
located?
Society of, I don't look them up. SPR's Society of Psychical Research.
Cyclical?
Psychical? No, PSYCHICAL.
I've never heard of this place. It sounds fake to me.
It's all part of it.
All part of the jam. They're
So-
hiding the emails,
so again,
brother.
What would be this point of this heavy hoax if it's a hoax?
Trying to gain
that's a lot of
traction.
energy.
Trying to gain traction.
That's
I
a
don't
lot
know.
of
It's merely the torment.
The torment.
100%.
Yeah,
I mean, that's pretty deep. You go a lot. That's a long.
Yeah, but we don't know Ken Webster, what he's
Okay.
done.
Cody, what do you got?
No, I have it. Okay, so basically, the name of the person who was conducting this experiment's name is David. Right?
Right.
David's the guy that they brought it to.
Right.
So 2109 response to the 10 questions says, David, you interfere with communication. Next time you decide to perform your little experiment, you must be clear from here. We suggest you try someone else to sit with Debbie. Yes, we are what you would call a tachyon universe, but your understanding is incorrect. We ask nothing more of you than to carry on as you would prefer. We will have John present if given choice. Or yeah, I think that's a typo. Given choice.
Everyone's drunk in this story.
That should be a C. It's an S for some reason. If given choice, or you may bring another as mentioned. It's again, that's not mentioned. It's super weird. No, it's not. It is of no concern to us that this would not prove that this is not proved. We will give you a plotting of a star next time. We move at a speed so that we can cover every point in your time and universe. We have no form. We feed off of a neat energy that and neat is spelled NEET, energy that you will not have heard of. Not heard of. Period. Oh, I think that's the page number that you have not heard of, and then it cuts off.
So the only thing that in there that is any form of acknowledgement is David, the name.
No, when he mentioned something about we are like a tachyon universe, because there's one of the questions asks about like what universe are you from or something like that.
Those are explained to a lot. I can when you do mail merge in a Word document, you can have fields pull from certain things. If something is represented in a sentence, I can make that thing happen if you were to send me those.
But it's the same thing. It's like these guys didn't do. We know that.
But somehow this justifies that time travel could happen.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
say.
My
argument is just as valid as the idea of time travel.
Hey, they describe themselves like aliens, though.
Okay. Well, I guess we can wrap up there. Let's stare talk about time aliens.
I'm just saying that it is not. It's not impossible for someone to have a knowledge that wasn't potentially tapped into. Right?
I get it.
We know.
I don't know enough about this stuff, so I'm not gonna. I can't say yes or no.
Listen, I haven't changed my theory. I think I changed it. Actually, I have changed my theory.
Trying to throw Ken off.
I accept that it was a time traveler.
Okay.
But I think he presented them with the options. They chose the wrong one. He got mad and he messed up their house. And I think that's about as simple as it gets.
They didn't become anything, and
that's why we haven't heard from them. That's why their house got messed with. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it.
That's a terrible movie.
What?
You're like, they travel back, and they're like, you're in danger. You're gonna die. Okay.
Yeah, it'd be like if, like,
The
Matrix, like the first 20 minutes, and then you choose. He's like, I'll stick with the blue pill. And you're like, huh? What?
This is way off topic, but I saw a TikTok the other day, and it's like, if I were in The Ring, the movie The Ring, they walk up and like, hey, guy, I found this VHS. It's about a movie, and he grabs the VHS, he's like, and he slams it, crashes it, and then the credits. Like, that's it. That's it.
Yeah,
so this would be a terrible movie if that were the truth.
Don't they try to bring it back? I haven't seen The Ring in a long time.
I think
they do. But still, just don't watch it.
Don't watch it.
Yeah, if someone says, hey, I got this VHS tape. It's got... Never mind.
It's imbued.
Yeah, it's imbued.
It's imbued, yeah.
Got a weird Asian girl on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm out. Hey, buddy, keep that to yourself. Right? Isn't she Asian or something? Oh, and it was an Asian movie originally, right? The Ring? And then
it was an Asian movie originally, and it got brought over here, or Japanese.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't.
Sushi.
All right,
this is a trip. I checked for this book on Amazon yesterday, and in fact, I have a screenshot on my computer, but now
tell me it's like $14.
No, it's not even on Amazon anymore.
Whoa, brother! Because they're listening to us right now.
They
They've heard
$986. I swear, I said when this used. So it's a used copy, $986.
I don't care what any of you say.
Yesterday.
I don't care what any of you say. My theory is still the best theory going, and I think that 2109 heard this podcast, and now he just bought up the last copy.
That's
I'm telling you.
I literally saw yesterday, and I took a screenshot on because I was going to print it and I forgot it. Now it's not there. I just looked it up
because they heard about this podcast. It's gaining traction. Now we're the biggest podcast in the world, and
fantastic.
No,
what do you think?
But they had to tank it because now they got rid of the book.
The book's gone.
And you guys better check your house when you get home. There could be pots and pans everywhere.
I'll check my kitchen.
Luckily, the apartment I'm in.
All right.
At this point,
Andy, we know your stance.
Yeah.
It's hackers. It's people hoax.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, a ton of work. It must be. I mean, you would know better than me, but I mean, 1985, it had to have been, right?
It would.
Today it would have been.
Feel
easy,
like
right?
an impossible task for a normal.
Would it have required multiple people to pull something like this off, or could one person have done it back then?
A whole town of computer geniuses, as you've already stated.
I think one person probably could have.
Yeah.
I mean, keep in mind, there is a number of technologies that have been created throughout our time that never see the light of day because of other reasons, right?
Yeah.
Somebody created a car that ran off water.
Never takes off. Yeah.
Guy
What's
died.
the thing in the...
Yeah. So to say that...
They say there's like over 1 million patents that you never actually see go into production.
So to say that this type of ability wasn't there back then, bullying existed and it could have worked.
Right.
Now, it's not. I'm not talking AI. I'm just talking logic.
Yeah.
That if a certain thing is asked,
I'm talking logic, baby.
that a certain thing is given, right?
Right.
And so if I'm looking for a certain type of thing or a certain question or a certain whatever. And SPR, if it's an organization, my guess is they've asked certain questions before,
find
or
them?
that
Are
I
they
could
still
not find
around?
them.
Oh, interesting.
Couldn't find them.
Interesting.
But anyways, I was trying to see where their location was. It's probably relatively close to where
Yeah.
all this was.
So
That's
your
possible.
final thoughts are gobbledygook. Elaborate prank.
Basically, I think it's an
Elaborate
elaborate prank
Cody?
Oh,
Where you at, bro?
or a hoax. They created it themselves.
I don't
This is
know.
all just for publicity.
I think it's freaking cool.
It
It's
is cool. It is
super
super.
cool.
It is very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean,
cool.
whether it's real or fake, I don't know.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I'm at too. I don't know. I would like to believe it's real.
My theory has
Uh,
not changed. Petty time traveler.
I know that
Sucky time travel.
I know
This
that
guy is terrible.
I know that that we just in today's day and age, I mean, we're basically creating mini black holes in a collider out in like Switzerland. So
What? What?
yeah, it's a whole. Hey, you should look it up.
Listen, I'm not-
Hadron
you guys are
Collider, is
talking
that
about
what
this
it's called?
Large Hadron Collider.
Yeah. You should check it out. They're creating dark matter and black holes. There.
You guys
So
are.
again, it's this technology that 20 years ago people would have been like, "What do you?" No, that's never impossible. So it would be cool to know. It would be cool to think that by 2109 we've got time travel.
Maybe we'll have time traveling computers. My computer, I've seen War Games with Matthew Broderick, and that's all I know about computers. And that's all I believe.
It's just a game, right?
Have you seen War Games?
Of course. Yeah, tons of times. Great movie.
Cody, you seen War Games?
How do you win the game?
Yeah,
I don't think
You know who Matthew Broderick is?
You
No.
You can only win the game by playing.
Never.
by playing it. Yes. So, DJ,
Thank
we know
you
your
so much.
stance.
Thank you so much for having
Andy,
me.
we know your stance. We know everybody's stance. But we're curious of yours out there. So if you're listening, what do you think of this time travel? Check it out. If you find this book pop up anywhere and
And you
send
have
us a screenshot.
$1,000 lying
Yeah,
around.
don't buy the book, but send us a screenshot because now all of a sudden I can't seem to find it on Amazon. It's kind of strange. But let us know what you think. Is time travel real? Is 2109 a real person? And what's going to happen? What do you think is really going on? Tell us. Drop us a comment. And as always, we love you. Twist the world. We out.
Peace out.